Before we introduce our next guest in the studio, let's hear the day's proverb from CT.
Yes, our last proverb from the DRC. A single bracelet does not jingle. You know, when you talk about bracelets, you just assume it's an ornament.
I have 7.
Precisely. Now tell me what they mean, because bracelets have a meaning.
Yeah, you can.
Yes.
You hear the
They're
jingle?
jingling.
Yes, but they signify something, depending on the community you come from. Okay?
Yes. Depending on the community they come from, they signify a lot.
Yes.
In the Indian, let me give you a Punjabi, Indian, Hindu, Singh, all these cultures from subcontinent, Asian subcontinent. It's a feminine, it's a part of femininity. It's the biggest insult to tell a man you're wearing bangles, to see churiyan paine. You're wearing bangles. It's like the biggest insult. Like when I was having my dispute with my husband in courts, you remember the headlines and all that? Yeah. I remember we had a phone conversation while that was going on. He told me, I'm going to show you who's wearing the churiyan. I'm going to show you who's wearing the bangles, me or you. So it's that big a thing. It's like literally removing a man's masculinity completely. So because it's supposed to be an ultra feminine thing, adorning yourself and the little sounds, jingles that it makes. Right. It's a feminine attraction. So to imply that a man can wear bangles, whoa, it's like,
Kill me now.
I've killed you. Remove your testosterone.
I will finish you.
Everything down there. Finish you. Just become a woman or something. It's the worst thing ever.
Who's wearing the pants? Who's wearing the jingle?
That's it. Who's wearing the pants? Like
in some communities, it signifies the marital status.
Yes, it's even that. Yes.
In some communities, it's status, not just marital status, but status.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yes. Bangles are not just bangles.
Yeah.
Yes. Bracelets are not just bracelets.
So hearing you say that somewhere in West Africa they're saying one bangle doesn't jingle, that really is deep. Yeah.
What do you think it means?
I think maybe like if you took it to the aspect of the other cultures we're talking about and what it means, it actually implies a woman's many feminine roles or various concepts or various elements of her beauty or her femininity.
It takes a lot to.
It's a very deep statement.
To define you and your beauty. So it's not just one bangle. You don't wear just one bangle. You wear more than one.
Oh yeah, I think that. So it's very deep thing you've said. Thank you. It woke up something in my head.
NAZLIN UMAR
Yes.
is a presidential aspirant. And it's not the first time that she's vying for president. She wants to be the president of the Republic of Kenya. She's with us now in the Situation Room. Welcome to the hot seat, NAZLIN.
Thank you, and I like that Situation Room.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I think when I become president, I'm going to have a Situation Room.
Yeah?
It's important. You address burning issues, things happening like need to be addressed right now. You need a Situation Room.
And you
identified people who just have to be there to deal with it.
And you tackle them head on.
Yeah, you've given me an idea. Thank you. So yeah, I'm NAZLIN UMAR. I'm internationally renowned person on my work, agenda on world peace, HIV, gender, women, or Islam. I'm invited all over the world and as global forum speaker representing all this. I was the only woman invited by the King of Spain, Juan Carlos, for the World Peace Congress of Religion and Peace in Sevilla, Spain. I was the only woman in the world on those podiums and then that forum. All over the world, all the chief rabbis, global imam muftis were all in attendance, archbishops and all. And I remember, I want to start with this just to show the role of the importance of women in world peace and in anything, in politics, in anywhere. We are the mobilizers in politics. Politicians cannot, when I say politicians, I mean male politicians cannot handle this thing without the mobilization capacity that women have. So in that forum, I had said something. I stood up and I said, okay, I'm honored to be amongst these world leaders today. And thank you for recognizing my role in world peace. But unless we recognize the role of women from all these three Abrahamic faiths which are in attendance, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, which are the Abrahamic faiths, unless we recognize the role of women in these faiths on world peace, we are not going to succeed. Why? Women do not call for war. Women never call for war, by the way. Look at any war all over the world, it was called by men. Women don't call for war, but they are the most affected by war. We end up losing our brothers to war, our sons to war, our fathers to war, and we are left widows with orphans, not with enough financial capacity, because in our communities, men play the dominant financial muscle. And whether in education or whatever, the sons were given more priority over the daughters. The brothers got more priority over the daughters. So we end up raising orphans, less capacitated, with less income generating capacity or financial capacity than the man was. So unless we recognize the role of women in world peace, we will have no peace. And I got a standing ovation. I got interviews on CNN, World Report, all that drama. To the point that the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Poppenheim, approached me when I was sitting with the bishop who's representing the Pope from Vatican. And he spoke to me and said, my daughter, we want you to lead the women wing of the world peace between Israel and Palestine. So that's my level of engagement, and seeing the role of women need to go to that level. You understand?
Yeah.
So coming back to reflect on my presidency here, this is the 4th time I'm giving it a shot, correct? 2007, I was the sole female candidate on the general election. And of course, the election was declared rigged. My votes were stolen left, right, and center. And let me be honest, it was not just Kibaki looting the ballot and running to declare himself a president in the dark. Raila also stole the ballot. He was a big ballot thief. Let me give an example. And I was there, and I'm speaking it as an inside player at that point. He declared 100. I'll just give you one example, because that's not our conversation here today. We have a bigger scope. He declared 160% voter turnout for Siaya alone. 160. So 100% of the registered voter turned up, plus another
plus
60
some.
On top. Plus some. So that kind of thing. Let's
Raila
just give you an
wasn't
idea.
Raila wasn't declaring an election. Do you mean the ECK
It doesn't matter.
then?
I'm saying he declared the
he claimed.
votes for
Voter turnout.
Siaya himself, that he has 160% voter turnout. And of course, he challenged the election. He said he won, and the other guy said he won. They all stole the ballot. Unfortunately, Kibaki was in power, and he had the state machinery to mobilize to have the Chief Justice, everybody in his hands to declare him the winner. Unfortunately. But if you remember me with Kivuitu at KICC, I was telling Kivuitu, you cannot declare the winner. And Ruto, I remember Ruto was on the podium there, dais. He was on his head like this, and Kinaurengo and all. Little Kivuitu sitting here, and everyone is literally
is just all over
swallowing
him.
him, I remember, and they were shocked because they thought I'm going to come in to support the president or something. No, I said, no. In that constitution, if you remember, when you do form a constitution, if you declare if you're running for president, you have to run for a constituency.
Yep.
I ran for Kim Kamkunji. I was born, bred, educated in Isli. I'm an Isli born person, Isli bred, Isli educated. So I had ballot papers in my hands when I went to KICC. Said, look at this. These ballot papers are all over the county. They're all over the constituency. They're all over Kenya.
Where did you get them from?
On the streets, in the polling stations, there was fighting. In Kamkunji was one of the hottest spots. Remember, there were big fights. And they were tearing boxes. And a pickup had come in with boxes. So Kenyans went crazy in Kamkunji, and they fought. And I said, look at this. I've got ballot box. So Kamkunji was one of the places he said, we'll have to go for a recount or something. Do you remember?
Was the first time you ran for president.
So 2013
again.
last minute, the state machinery entered my names in the register of criminals. I was registered as a criminal in Kenya, denying me a certificate of good conduct, without which you can't buy. It's one of the requirements. Okay, so I went to court. We're still battling. 2017 comes. They miraculously removed my name from the register of criminals, so I had a
So this time you got a certificate of good conduct.
Yes, but remember at KICC when I was presenting to Chebukati, it was live. You guys are all live. I'm showing him my voter card, and I'm telling him, why is my name missing from the register of voters? And I remember I presented myself just before Uhuru Kenyatta. He was already coming in. There's a lot of noise. And this is Chebukati sitting here with his entire commission receiving us as our returning officer. But you had to pass the side table to verify your fingerprints in the BVR, as well as...
To make sure that you are, number one, a voter.
A voter registered.
For you to be a
Otherwise
candidate.
you can't. So that's how they slammed me. Last minute, they removed my name and the names of my 4 children. So I'd verified. When did you verify? I said, I verified 3 days before Raila did. I verified at Parklands High Ridge Police Primary School. That's when I'm registered. I verified.
So in 2017, you wanted to be president, but you actually ended up not even being a voter.
Yeah.
So you did not even vote.
I was just registered as a voter. I've struggled to have myself registered as a voter until about 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks ago. I was registered. About 3 weeks
4
ago.
weeks ago today.
Yes, from today.
Now
4 weeks
you
ago,
are
I was
a registered
registered
voter.
as a voter. About 3 weeks ago. And finally, it was such a momentous thing for me. I registered in Western, and I went to IEBC and all that, and I have now a voter card, and I hope they don't remove my name again, but they've done worse. You won't believe what they've done already.
Have you done the verification using the
Yes,
online
it's been
system?
verified, everything, but you won't believe what they've done. My shock is this is my voter card. But you won't believe what they've done. Now, when he gazetted our names, clearing aspirants, Chebukati wrote my name different from my voter card. I used my passport to buy. My passport and my names on the voter card are NAZLIN Umar Fazaldin Rajput. Rajput is my surname.
Yep.
You remember, you guys all carried all the names of the aspirants?
Yep.
He's now going to register me there as NAZLIN Umar Fazaldin Omar.
Oh,
That
not
name
Rajput.
is not what I registered. And he's gazetted me as somebody else. My question, and every Kenyan should be asking, why is the state machinery, this deep state, Chebukati, fighting me so draconiously? Why? What are they afraid of? If I'm not powerful, why are you blocking my bid?
Let me ask you.
Are you saying the shocker?
Yesterday was a deadline for presidential candidates and their running mates to present this evidence that you've got support from across the country.
I presented the same day at KICC on the 23rd.
So you went with the 48,000
I have
signatures and copies of
actually
IDs.
about 98,000 signatures.
And copies of IDs?
What I did, I'm the chair of the National Muslim Council. Over 2,000 imams have endorsed me in writing for president. I'm the president of the Caucus of Independent Candidates of Kenya, which was formed last general election in 2017 when independents were being blocked out by ORPP. ORPP's deadline came before, and the IEBC deadline was before even the ORPP. They had a 4-day gap, which I addressed. So out of that popularity, we got them all signed. So we are about 5,000 members backing me right now, and amongst independent candidates. And we are moving to court, by the way. As I'm speaking about, I think Edna knows, I've been working on completing my petition under public interest on at least 7 issues. So when we went there, yesterday was not the deadline. The deadline is actually on the 9th of June. The deadline, as advertised by IBC on their Facebook, on their website, on their Twitter handle, is that the deadline for submitting signatures and whatever rules and everything else is between 29th of May
And the 9th of June.
and the 6th of June. Sorry, 6th of June. Okay, this is it. 23rd, when he met us at Bomas, it was as our returning officer. By law, each returning officer is
Meets his
appointed,
candidates.
meets his aspirants. Chebukati is the returning officer for all candidates. From that day, he had never met us. He has advertised it, even the media picked it up as a pre-nomination exercise. The day he's supposed to meet us and tell us, okay, what are the rules, what are the regulations, qualifications, what is expected of us, and to thresh out any issues arising by aspirants. He did that. And I had the entire video recording of him speaking. We recorded him. That's exactly what he did. And then he came and says, you must submit today. But you just told us what we need to submit. You need 2 weeks after that by
You
law.
need to give us time.
No, by law, you need 2 weeks after you meet your returning officer. So you know what you're supposed to submit, or if you're knocked out or not. So he's telling us to submit today. And guess who submitted that day? Guess who submitted that day without being informed what was needed beforehand?
NAZLIN.
No. Ruto and Raila. How did they? And they didn't even participate in that meeting.
Maybe they had representatives.
No. The point is they came with the boxes and boxes
They
and
came
boxes.
prepared.
They came prepared, like they'd been earlier pre-notified that I'm going to pull the rug under these candidates, small parties and all the independents, and I'm going to give you this favor. So
Had
they
you not
prepared.
been told?
And Chebukati, we have him on video record saying,
NAZLIN, if I can interrupt you and ask
Sure,
you,
sure,
I mean,
sure.
with all of that you've said, clearly one of the things that's coming out here is that you believe that there are those who are trying to stop you
Yes.
from running for
absolutely,
president.
absolutely.
Now, the question is, why would they want to do that?
Okay, I have a bad history with Raila. I think the whole country knows that. I took him for my World Peace Congress in Korea in 2004 or 5. And we had a major fallout. We had a major fallout. At that time, I was head of Raila's think tank. And the whole country knows that. Maybe you're in Nigeria, then let me update you. I was head of Raila's think tank. I was life member number 1 of ODM Kenya, ODM when it was formed. Before them, we were the Orange Movement and the Banana Movement for the referendum. Remember, 2004-5 referendum.
Yep.
So it started in 2004. We were the orange part. I was the sole female luminary in that entire place. I mean, they were all men, and also Uhuru Kenyatta was with us, Ruto was with us, Balala and all these other members, even Kalonzo and Raila, we were all one team. And clearly Raila was leading the team at that point. Uhuru was chairman of KANU at that time.
Yeah.
I was the I was the chairman of the National Muslim Council of Kenya. And so I was the sole female luminary in the Orange Movement. And I published a whole page of what was wrong with that proposed constitution, which was Wako's bill. The Attorney General is called Wako, it was his bill. And remember, I was head of Women Affairs, member of the National Committee of Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, and we had appointed our representatives throughout the country in the BOMA's meetings. Do you remember the BOMA's conferences on the new constitution? Are we together? So in that forum, BOMA's, the whole country came together and said, this is the constitution we want. The government, which was at that time, Kibaki was the president, and Martha Karua was then the Minister of Justice. They fought hard against BOMAs. They fought hard against the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission. They fought hard against the people's needs or wants or what the country wanted. And that was the only time the entire country had gathered to decide what they want in a constitution. It's never happened before. It never happened after that. It was historically the only moment ever. And she fought that hard. They wanted to enforce an imperial president.
It was who was the justice minister then?
Yeah, she was. No,
Correct.
Then she also became.
After
So she fought it hard. She fought us hard. She fought BOMAs hard, and she was extremely vocal against the new constitution draft. So, however, I was very vocal. I was very knowledgeable, rather, on the BOMA's draft, our ones as the opposition, and Wako bill. So Raila decided in our group that, okay, NAZLIN is conscious and she's vocal and aware of all these constitutions. Let her face the press. So I think that's when I was basically talking to all the media. I was a point person talking, and that brought me to another level. And before that, in 2002, when I was appointed in SUPCAM, I was already talking on the electoral process leading to 2002 elections. In fact, when Moi was handing over presidency to Kibaki, I was on the podium. I was one of those who were beaten with stones. And I remember a very historical moment when he was handing over the presidency at Uhuru Park. Remember the wave, the sea of humanity, which has never happened before or after. It has been the biggest
moment.
It was a historical and very powerful, charged moment.
To catch you and bring you back to Ndu's question, why do you think there are forces that would want you out of the ballot in 2013?
So I was giving you a background so you can understand the strengths I've come with. I'm not just someone who popped out today and said she wants the ballot.
Right.
I've got a deep history with the big boys, rather, what you say. A deep history. I've rubbed shoulders and gone even above them globally. So I think my fallout with Raila has had me blacked out completely in the political dispensation order of our nation. I took him to Korea for world peace. I actually called Uhuru. I asked Kalonzo. Kalonzo called me back too late when the agenda was already set. Tickets were booked for Korea. I wanted any of them. Who else wants to go to Korea? I've done a lot of world peace. I want to push you guys to my international platform. Who wants to come? Kalonzo answered too late. Uhuru told me, NAZLIN, can we make this next time? Because I think he was being overwhelmed with some family business meetings that he had to attend to, burning issues, something was going wrong. So he told me, I wish you told me earlier, so this thing is coming up, I need to try, or something like that. I talked to Raila. Raila said, yes, I want to come. I want to get involved in your world peace agenda. So we organized to go with Raila to Korea. So I was not supposed to go to Korea. I was just supposed to send one of them. I've already done too much work with them. I go every other year on peace tours with the Korea network. So he said, no, I'm not going alone. You know these people. I don't know them. If I'm going, join me. Otherwise, I don't think I have to go. So I talked to the organizers. They sent us 2 tickets. They agreed. They actually sent us economy tickets. They only pay economy. Then you pay your own. You top up your own. So Raila topped us up to business class. But with my influence, I got that down to first class. And his passport was expiring. He had a diplomatic passport then. And it was expiring. It only had 1 page. So he told me, if we now start this process for the government to give me another passport, they will delay it, because he was opposition that time. They'll delay it until this date is passed. I'll miss going to this flight for this meeting. So, okay, he said, I think, okay, we decided we'll register him as an ordinary Kenyan and just get an ordinary passport. So I took up all those documents and I went and I got this passport and all that stuff, went to immigration and sorted everything out. So we urgently did that and we traveled to Korea. So yeah, I think my nightmare, I should have got a warning at the airport. I should have gotten a warning at the airport because I reached Jomo Kenyatta before him.
Which year was this?
2004 or 2005.
Okay.
All right?
So by the time you were going to...
2006.
By the time you wanted to be
2006.
president... By the time you wanted to be president in 2007, you already had this feeling.
We already had a fallout with Raila when I stood for president in 2007.
Did you establish that he's the reason why you were not able to vie in 2007?
You didn't let me answer my question. If you're going to cut me, I'm not going to be able to tell. I was
'Cause
just
I'd
coming
like
to
us
the
to get
reason,
there,
and
because
you just
it's-
stopped me there. You know,
Yeah.
you go to another question. The elections were in 2007. I think 2006 is when the Korea thing happened. And 2006, throughout 2006, the whole ODM had about 8 candidates. Remember, candidates in ODM wanted to vie. I was one of them. I was the only woman in ODM party at that time who wanted to vie. And in that period, we had an opposition. And we fell out with Raila Odinga. And I then moved to the ballot to prove, no, you cannot cut me down. You will meet me at the ballot. You will not break me down because of your personal interests. You will meet me at the ballot. And that's what I did. I joined the Workers' Congress Party, and I ran with the Workers' Congress Party, if you remember, all right? So going back to Korea, I think my nightmare should have been a big warning at the airport. Jomo Kenyatta Airport, I'm waiting for Raila, and I'm calling him, okay, I'm at VIP, where are you? I said, where are you? He asked, he called me. I said, I'm at VIP lounge. He said, okay, don't come out to the hall. Don't come into the hall to receive me. I said, why? He said, Madame will be with me. Now, I think my heart just fell to my feet, Like, why doesn't she know you're going with me to Korea, So he hadn't told his wife, Ida Odinga, that I'm taking him to Korea. Now, remember, we didn't go together. I took him to Korea for World Peace meeting. So that is where I realized he's not told her that he's going with me. So there seems to be an issue between that couple. I didn't know. So that is where my nightmare started. Raila's interests in me and my objecting to that or fighting him off is what has caused him to persecute me none till today. I've been arrested. My cars, Range Rovers have been taken away from me. I've been detained unlawfully for extended times.
Can I ask you a
I've
question?
gone through hell.
Can I ask you a question?
Okay, you wanted to know first why I feel that I'm being targeted? That is one reason.
What I want to ask is...
That's one reason. I've not given you all my reasons.
The period you speak of, Raila wasn't in government. For the most of his political career, Raila has been in the opposition. What I want to understand is, how does someone in the opposition master the sort of power?
No, you're
that you-
wrong. You're
that you claim-
misconceived. No. In 2007, he ran for president. I ran for president. He created havoc. The country burnt. They formed a coalition government exactly in early 2008. He has been in power all the time. I've been persecuted. He was prime minister in the coalition government immediately after the election. So he has been in power. Before that, he was not powerful. He did nothing to me. I ran for president. As soon as the coalition government was formed, he became
Actually,
prime minister.
You've done the very same thing you've accused us of doing. You've actually cut me short before I've actually finished asking you the question
He's
that I
just
wanted to ask.
correcting you that he was in power.
What's
So-
your question, Siti?
My question is this. Of all the people who are in government, why Raila Odinga? Why him? Why is he the target? Because I'm asking this question with this context in mind. There are political pundits who claim that the individuals whom, when the names are mentioned, it gives you a headline. If you mention
Oh no,
Ruto,
no, no,
if
no,
you-
no,
if
no,
you
no, no,
mention
no, no,
Ruto-
no, no, no. You're not going to embarrass. You're not going to attack me
It's
like
a perception, but let him
that.
answer.
No,
it. Let
no,
him
no.
ask
That's
the
not.
question.
I'm not going to accept a man sitting here and telling me that Raila is the target. I am the target of political persecution in this country. There are court petitions and petitions pending on this. I've been shot at. I've faced armed assassination. I've faced. My children have been shot at. What are you telling me? If you're a
What I'm telling
a
you-
stooge for Raila, you're not going to call me here and insult me. You're not going to. You asked me here. I was asked here. What? Why? Who? Why have you been
Nazlin,
blocked?
he
I was
hasn't-
answering
he
a
has not
question.
finished his question.
No, but no, he's already insulting me. I want him to
No,
be
he hasn't.
respectful. Listen. You're saying that we have some people mention Raila. That's why they become famous. I'm already extremely famous. I'm a household name. Your family must know me. I don't need that popularity. I'm already above them globally. I have a global
I began
reputation.
my question-
I've received global awards. I'm a national figure. No, I take offense. That petty language is what hired trolls come and tell us on Facebook and Twitter. You cannot bring that to this podium kindly. You must protect me if I'm here to be invited to speak about my campaign. I think this conversation was about why am I running as an independent? What am I president? Yeah, this. I don't know who this person is. Is he a guest? Is he one of you employed? I don't know. I think I was introduced to him. But I take offense. I take offense.
Siti Muga is a host of the
Kindly.
show.
I take offense. I really take offense.
What we want to know is why you're running as president. Now, I think once we take this break, when you come back, let's steer clear of whether you've been persecuted or not and speak to the Kenyans on why you'd like to be president, why you've wanted to be president once, twice, thrice, And now it's the fourth time that you want to be president. And the first thing that we'd like to know once we come from this break is whether you have met the requirements that have been presented by the IEBC.
I have.
And then the next thing is now, what next for your campaign?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The guest this hour, presidential aspirant NAZLIN Omar, who's running on an independent ticket. NAZLIN, you presented your name together with that of your running mate to the IEBC,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Who's your running mate?
Sam Bio, he's a young man, 26-year-old youth. And I opted to choose youth for the purpose of representation of the majority bloc and majority citizenship of Kenya. And on the basis that, leaders, again, since we were young, I was young, I had no marriage or no children. We've been hearing, youth are the leaders of tomorrow. Tomorrow has long come and gone and it's become like, another era again. Like our own children, we were youth hearing that. Now we have grown up children who are now youth and they are also hearing that. So I think I need to jump the multi-generational gap and just say, okay, here you are guys, make it work. You keep on complaining, you're not considered. I've put you literally on the podium. Try and make it work. Yeah.
And now the other question is whether you've been able to present all the documentation that's required by
Yes,
the
you'd actually
IEBC.
asked me about, okay, so this was the issue. You hear Kalonzo put in his documents yesterday, right? And we have
several
court
other
matters
candidates.
going on as we speak. Rulings are supposed to be given on the legality of the requirement by IBC to give ID cards. That's still being considered. It's even moved to appeal now. The grounds they may have given some of those independent candidates are different from the grounds I'm presenting to court this evening. All right? So I'll give you an example of you later. But for now, I think there's an issue about why am I vying? Why are they fearing me on the ballot? That was the issue. I think they know that she's first unbuyable. She's and the power seems to be elite people. Some elite cartel, a cabal, has decided the presidency must remain with specific people for the purpose of continuing protecting the generational theft in this country, land grabbing, generational theft, high corruption. Raila yesterday said 700 billion is being lost per year. The president has declared 2 billion per day. I'm thinking 5 billion per day. I mean, initially we had one channel of corruption in national government. Now we still have that, plus we have 47 other channels. So it's extreme corruption. We are borrowing to pay debts and we are borrowing to steal. Right now, in the last 3 months, the government has borrowed over 380 billion shillings, and it's not going to any development. Every ministry is now squeezing every penny to give it to the to Kenyatta family and for the Raila Odinga's campaigns. That's what's happening. So they fear somebody totally independent with the entire Muslim bloc. I have done extreme work in the grassroots. Do you know, as you're sitting, I was even saying it on Facebook, without even leaving my house, I'll have gathered all the signatures all over Kenya because I've committed my life towards living for the sake of others. My banks are always in blank or very little because whatever comes in again, I'm running all over
share
country.
with the people.
I've built this country.
So you said you've been able to gather 94,000
Actually, much more. What I put down to
and
give
ID copies.
98. It was 98. Okay,
98.
98. And what happened is, like for example, Nyeri, like Kipia, Kirinyaga, actually sent forms are being done all over because of my network is big. The communities I've supported with income generating activities all my life, all over Kenya, including Turkana, imagine Mandera, they're actually collecting signatures and sending it. Even as I'm speaking, I've gathered everything and they still have to go to some sacco send someone in a sacco there in River Road to collect signatures that have been sent from Laikipia. Are you getting what I'm saying? It's still happening.
Plus ID copies?
No, I have said we are not collecting ID copies. And let me tell you, I'm going to DCI to make an official report tomorrow. And I'm also put it as an order in the petition that DCI has been put in there as an interested party. I want DCI to investigate anyone who's submitting ID cards. You know why? Nobody has gone to the ground to collect ID cards. Let me tell you that. Okay. The situation is violent. What Azimio and the other Ruto's team and Raila's team have done, and Kalonzo's team and whoever else is presenting, these are data stolen from Safaricom and other. And we've also brought in Data Protection Agency something. There's an organization.
NAZLIN, if I may,
Yes.
If I may jump in and ask you.
Yes.
I mean, I think we spent a better part of this time looking at the things that may have been done to you as opposed to what you want to offer to the country in the position of president. What are some of those things. And I ask that because it's extremely important, because you run the risk of folks paying attention to the things that have come to
I was
hurt
answering
you.
questions. There are three of you asking different
Please,
questions.
please allow me to finish my question. So what I'm asking you here is, as you are getting to this place where you want to be president, what are things based on these things that you've seen, which may be grievances, that you say then need to be done in this country that you're offering?
Yeah, I think first is fighting corruption. As soon as I'm elected president, I would like to say that I most probably will suspend the constitution. I will suspend the constitution, like what Mahathir did in Malaysia. What he did, the people of Malaysia called back a very old retired prime minister on public demand because of excessive corruption was going on and on even after he left office. He had to come back in the election and be elected again. Why? What did he do? He actually stopped immediately. I'll actually give a 2-week amnesty to anyone. If you know your money has been looted by you or your family in the period or went missing or could not be accountable when you were president or when you were prime minister or when you were minister or CS or PS or county governor or anything, if public funds cannot be accounted for while you are in that position, then I'll give you 2 weeks amnesty. Even if you've used most of the money, you have a little bit saved or you bought some properties, just surrender and say, okay, I've used 70%, this is 30%, I'm willing to give in, I'll give you. And other than that, I think the issue we're having is on prosecution. You'll see no major corruption deal is ever concluded fairly in the courts of justice in Kenya. So you can see there's an issue of intimidation or favor or tribe comes in. And this the same thing goes for investigation and prosecution, if you'll agree. Like Ruto's people are saying they're all being targeted, not the Kenyatta or the Odinga side. So to get out of that, I'm going to call for international friends of Kenya countries, global countries like FBI and all, MRI, all these organizations give us. I'm going to form an independent international investigation committee. The same thing for prosecution and the same thing an international independent criminal court, which will be heard consecutively. Within 60 days, everybody's case should be heard, determined, and concluded. Everybody under whose docket money went missing. The Auditor General has done a fantastic job of actually disclosing this one's missing. This ministry can't account for this. This project can't account for this. We have that formal information.
Address the issue of corruption within, you said 90 days?
Yes, within 60 days. 60 days, we're going to address that formally. And at the same time, anyone who's been a public servant or a civil servant cannot leave the country. They'll have to submit their passports
So they have to stay in the country.
places. You have to stay in as we're investigating you and charging you and pressing.
And you have suspended the constitution, so even our Kenyan judges are not the ones who are hearing these cases.
These cases will have to be heard. Let me tell you, Kenya right now is the top country on corruption in the world. We are top on the index. When we are put number 2 from Nigeria, sorry sis, I don't agree with that. You know why? Nigeria is massive. The GDP is massive. Lagos itself is more GDP than Kenya as a country. So when they say they are top in corruption, it's because their monies are so much more than what Kenya has. And when you say Pakistan is next, no, Kenya is the top country in corruption if you look at TI and other reports. So an extreme situation needs an extreme measure. And that's the extreme measure that I would feel I want to do. I've not completed what I want to do. So that is one. Once we handle closed channels of corruption, by the way, even before being elected president, as we speak, I'm writing to IEBC. We are starting a new referendum, Okwa wa Kenya referendum. So I want to write to him, so he gives us his what are the rules and regulations, and we are mobilizing nationwide. We are starting a conversation. Are we happy? We've had a constitution for 3. This is the third. This is going to be. This is going to be the third election under this new constitution.
12 years.
Has under the new devolution system. Has it helped? Has devolution helped Kenyans, or has it increased more channels of theft? What do we need to do? So I'm going to have this conversation. We are going to end up having a draft constitution that we are going to go for popular version and submit it for referendum. And if we win, that referendum will mean that the Kenyans have asked for a new election. So within 2 years from now, I'm seeing Kenya going for another election. Definitely, we are going to have another election. So whatever Chebukati thinks of banning us or barring us is nonsense. Kenyans are going to go change and remove all the clauses in the constitution or add stronger clauses in the constitution that actually constitutionalize crime and what needs to be done about it. So we are expecting to have a referendum in 2 years, and that referendum will be a call for a new election within 60 days. 60 days, why? We'll be expecting IEBC to be recreated, not with the present commissioners, where Fulla Chebukati is going, whether he likes it or not. We're going to oust him through that referendum. We're just going to say Kenyans want change. And they'll need to demarcate the boundaries. So considering all that, they'll need time. Instead of for snap elections in 3 months, we'll be giving time for 60 days.
There's a question about this suspension of the constitution.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Or maybe parts
Ask
of...
it, Siti.
Yeah.
Because if you suspend the constitution, essentially we introduce martial law. And what it means
Not
is that
necessarily.
actually, of necessity, it means the president has the power or takes over the powers of every other arm of government. They can jail you, they can... anything that the president deems as appropriate can be done.
That's what I believe we do need. Let me tell you what's going to happen. I'm an independent candidate, right? Imagine Kenyans have elected me, and maybe 50, 60 other candidates all over the country. Those goons who I'm opposing, who I'm calling despots, will still have the majority to oust me
In Parliament.
In Parliament. So we have to suspend it if we are going to execute this plan I have for Kenya. It's an extreme measure. And of course, I believe I am capable of not harming any individual. That's why I'm saying international bodies, world media, everything will be landing here and taking account into how we are handling this. We just want to be very fair. And to make sure tribalism doesn't come in, favor or intimidation doesn't come in, we have to have independent judges, international judges, who don't give a damn about tribe or who you are or who I am. They'll just be fair in the investigations. So you've asked me how I'm going to do it. I know it's a radical decision, but that's what Kenya needs.
And actually, what I want to ask is, how can Kenyans then trust you? That
They
once
want
you
this.
have
I've been all over
suspended
the country.
Constitution,
I've been all over the country. By
you
the
will not become this new dictator who has suspended the constitution and has taken up all the powers and is sitting in State House with no checks and balances at all.
No,
How
there'll
can
be checks and
Kenyans
balances. Let me tell you what we're going to do. This election is coming in about 75 days, right?
Yes.
So about 3 months, right?
Yep.
This referendum will have started. The movement for collecting signatures and the dialogue will have started in 1 month.
Okay.
So long before elections, we'll have started this
So
conversation.
in the next 30 days,
We'll be out there.
Okay.
All right. And I've done my groundwork. I've been all over the country. I've got written letters. We want this. We've taken information gathered. We're actually going to provide this information, what Kenyans want. They want this conversation to donors because civic education. IBC has done no civic education on this general election, if you'll agree with me.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
IBC has done no civic education to Kenyans that even there are some people who are calling themselves independent candidates are going to come to the ground to ask you for the ID copies. They're not giving
They
them.
haven't done that.
So Kenyans are thinking you're thieves. You want to take my ID, you want to leave my fingerprints, you want to go and fill the ballot. And some people have not registered. If you remember, what did Chebukati say? There's been a voter apathy this time. There's so many more youth who have attained the age of majority, they have IDs, they have not registered as voters. So there's voter apathy. So is Chebukati using this compelling independent candidates to come up with ID copies, using that to fill their registers and use those numbers to actually fill the ballot box for Raila Odinga because he's a state project. President has said Raila must win. He's his chief campaigner, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we are feeling and the people of Kenya are feeling.
What about the state of the economy?
Yes.
Obviously, a lot of people have argued that this election is an economic one because of how things have been over the last give or take 10 years. What would be your approach then towards that?
Economy? I didn't get you.
This is an economic election.
What do you mean by economic election?
Okay, so the state of the economy. Kenya has an issue with debt. Folks have been complaining. I mean, we've seen the cost.
I get you now. Yes, I get
the cost of living has gone up. So anybody who wants to deliver leadership is talking about what they're going to do.
I think that's why they're trying to bar me because they know.
I'm asking. What would be your approach to deal with the economic situation in the country?
I think for me, if I'm elected.
If you're elected.
Yes. I think, first of all, what I've just explained to you is the first address, is the head-on taking corruption. Once we close down those levels of corruption, I believe, and these are the constitution requirements we'll put as a necessity in the new constitution draft. Right now, the constitution draft says Kenyans have a right to social welfare, including housing and all. Yes. But then they put a clause there that if it can afford it and depending on an act of parliament, they've made it easy to escape that. Yep. That's going to be compulsory. No Kenyan should sleep hungry. I have declared to Kenyans, I will go on a 1 meal a day when elected president until I can make sure my entire nation is having at least that same 1 meal a day. And it can be done. We can have meals. Kenya, one thing good that came out of the Nyayo system was having social halls everywhere. The local chief systems are still the administration. They can easily give you a badge for a family that needs meals. They can go there and have a free meal a day, every day. Nobody should sleep hungry, I believe.
How will you be able to finance this?
Well, if we can still finance it. Right now we have tons of money, but it's being stolen. So if we can stop theft and channel this into feeding, housing. We should have tall high-rise buildings. I've been to Cairo. If you have been there, it's amazing. They've got high-rise buildings. Everybody has a home. What Libya had done, what Gaddafi had done, every person had a right to a home. And let me tell you right now, the biggest problem, this constitution, the leaders who inherited this constitution is that, let me tell you, for example, Uhuru Kenyatta was elected president in 2013, correct?
Yep.
He was elected president. Uhuru Ruto failed to create policies, frameworks, strategy frameworks, implementation frameworks for county governments. Because remember, county governors were elected, but the president and his manifesto is what was elected. I get what I'm saying. What he promised the people should have been formed into policies, frameworks, strategies, and that's my expertise for counties. But you do this, and you do that how? You map Pokot, Turkana, Wajir, Kos, Mombasa, Kitui. What are the needs of these people? You put them in that budget plan and you implement it under policy. That failed. I would even want to do that even if I don't become president. I'm going to create this policy and have it adopted by all county governments to the National Committee of Governors. It's worth it. Somebody needs to do this. They failed. So the governor just sat there, decide what he wants to do, how he wants to loot. MCAs are what? The majority, 95% of MCAs are thugs. They blackmail the governor, or the governor uses them to push his agenda, and they get paid to get all these things done. Same as they tried to do with BBI. They're given money literally, and they did what they did.
So they're not doing their job of checks and balances.
And yes, do we really need them then?
Sure. And NAZLIN, do you have a clean bill of health then when it comes to, transparency and making sure that you also are on the right side of things?
I don't think there's a better Kenyan than me on clean account. First of all, I've never been in government. I've never been a beneficiary of any government shillings. In fact, my business, my economy has been frustrated being in opposition and being opposed and frustrated, and in every account, there's been a political systematic prosecution against me. So I am the one. At one point, when Raila was prime minister, he had me arrested. He had me arrested for stealing my own 3 Range Rovers. If you remember, I was in the headlines.
Oh, you stole your own vehicles?
My own vehicles.
Okay.
And I'd imported them. I'd financed somebody. 60,000 pounds I lost. And the cars are still rotting at DCI's office. DCI had said the cars belong to me. KRA said she'd never tried to steal anything. The cars belong to her. I sued KRA as well, but KRA has come on court. No, this cars belong to her. Now the case is being dragged only. The case is being dragged. And when I filed that petition is after, because I called the AG when I was in the cell. I said, I've been arrested. I called everybody. I've been arrested. This is what's happened to me. They said, it's okay. We'll look at the case tomorrow. It's too late now. So that was Amos Wako, by the way, that time. And the next day, I heard that when I was taken to court and released after 5 days in incarceration, I heard that the case has been terminated. The previous constitution had a clause called nolle prosecute. So they said this case is unprosecutable. They entered a nolle prosecute. And that time, if you remember, my bodyguard and my driver were also arrested. They were used by police to now chase me, gunmen, shots. They were the ones telling this. By the way, the police said, we are with you. The DCI said, we are with you. But there's a parallel force that was...
somewhere that was playing some games.
Which was playing some games.
We've got about a minute and a half to the end of the show.
So looking at that, did I answer your question, sweetheart?
More or less.
I want to ask you the final question.
Yeah.
You've said that you recently registered as a voter, but
Yes.
you've checked your registration details and you still find that there's an issue. Are you prepared to go and have that addressed with...
The registration in the IBC data shows NAZLIN Umar Fazaddin Rajput, but the gazettement is reading badly.
Okay.
So, yes, I'm moving to court basically on the issue of ID cards, and what I've told you is what Kenyans are feeling and that they're using this to rig the election. We've asked Ebukati on the 23rd. Today is the day you're supposed to telling us is a pre-nomination day. Why we turned it into a submission? The submissions, as you said, people are still submitting up to the 6th of June. That is the period it's given us 1 week. So if he's pulled that back, of course, the courts will reconsider that. And independent candidates are the largest. I mean, there are 7,000 independent candidates plus. No party has so many candidates or aspirants put together. Both of them still don't have so many. So this is a new generation. There's a new movement. It's a new force coming in, and you can't ignore them. Most of them are independent-minded, but most had a fallout from parties where party bosses took money from rich aspirants at the detriment of powerful people.
Powerful.
So that's what we told IBC Chebukati there, and that's what we're telling the court. Don't push powerful people on the ground to feel so deceived that they have to raise up. We don't want you to take us back the Rwanda way or back to the post-election violence of 2008. We can create peace if the courts and IBC could come to some common sense right now.
NAZLIN, thank you very much for coming. Our time is up. Asante sana for joining us. NAZLIN Omar is a presidential aspirant in this election city. Send us away with the day's proverb.
A single bracelet does not jingle.
A single bracelet does not jingle.
Yes.
This one is from the DRC.
This is from the DRC. It's our last proverb from the DRC.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
God I have many bracelets.
Yes, they do jingle.
You do too.